Mr. Chair, we are live and
I will call the meeting to order of the April 10th Architectural Review Board and ask you, the staff would please call the roll.
yes, sir. Vice Chair Jones is not with us. Chair Lovely,
Here.
Member Mann,
Here.
Secretary Ritter,
Here.
Member Parsons.
Here.
And alternate Bartlesmeyer is not with us in that capacity this evening. Alternate Ratterman is not with us. Our council member liaison Nyan is not with us, and our commission liaison Cone is not with us, but we do have
We
quorum.
have a quorum. Very good. All right, so with that, we do have some minutes of the meeting of March 13th. And so I would ask for a motion for approval of the minutes. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Parsons or Ms. Ma'am, either one. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Our agenda, we will be dealing with the reserve at Wildwood, not aware of any other items, but that's our quick review of the agenda items that at least the chair is aware of. The agenda calls for at least the opportunity for public comment. If there's comments from anyone from the public other than dealing with the case and not seeing either anyone online or here, I take it back.
We, Mr. Chair, we do have Carrie online. If Carrie would like to speak at this time, please use the raise hand feature. Mr. Chair, I see no raised hands.
Okay, we do not have any public comments. Old business, I'm not aware of any old business. Is anyone else? Now, we will move on to new business, and the new business deals with the reserve at Wildwood, and we will ask the staff to read it in and provide the staff comments.
Mr. Chair, it's the reserve at Wildwood, 17225 Manchester Road, a preliminary review of architectural elevations, 3D renderings and floor plans for 5 designer city houses to be available within the reserve. A new 115 lot subdivision within town center. Mr. Chair, with your permission,
Please.
Ms. Keith and I are kind of gonna do a bit of a tag team tonight. The intent, from the perspective of the department, is to give you a little background on the reserve. I think it helps to kind of put context to what you're looking at in terms of architectural review for elements. And then Ms. Keith will kind of go through what you received in terms of the packet of information and some other additional items. First and foremost, this may be one of the longest standing projects that the Department of Planning and several home builders have been working on for many years. In fact, the PZ number, how we track it, actually is from 2015. And it started with King Family, who was bought out by Fisher Homes, is no longer an entity who's developing in this area. The public hearing on this particular proposal was in 2017. And I say this particular proposal because the original submitted by Payne Family Homes was kind of more of a new urbanism type. It had much smaller lots. Some of those lots were served by alleys, and for the most part, it had more of a grid pattern of streets than what you see here. That particular proposal went through almost 2 years of review, and ultimately Payne Family Homes pulled it off the table, saying it's just not something we're comfortable with. We're hearing from the community. We're even hearing from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which recommended approval. It's not exactly what they want. Payne Family Homes then spent the better part of several months kind of working through a different approach. That approach was Preferbia. It's kind of counterintuitive to new urbanism. There's a gentleman up in Minnesota, Richard Harrison, that's an advocate of Preferbia. It's more traditional subdivision development in terms of residential type, but it places each home individually on a lot. No two homes have the same kind of orientation toward the street. They're angled different. They're usually set further back in the lot, so the front yard is greater. then the back are rooms. And there is usually a long sidewalk, long driveway, and the streets always end in cul-de-sacs. And they have more curves to them. So again, it's about what you see when you drive in terms of house placement, street, etc. The Proverbia kind of got traction here at the city, and ultimately an ordinance was developed. But as that was being kind of discussed at city council, it became clear that just wasn't a workable solution because the streets had some issues with them. Cul-de-sacs, lack of rear entry garages, things like that. So ultimately, kind of morphed into what I would call a low impact development. Streets without curbs, stormwater that was handled by earth and swales, things along those lines, which are components of this current plan. When McKelvey Homes kind of stepped up to the plate, we had a meeting and really talked through all kind of four components of what the project was. New urbanism, Proverbia, low impact, and now McKelvey Homes. And for the most part, we asked them to pick one of those and do the best you can, and then we'll alter the ordinance if necessary to achieve the best project on this particular 50-acre site we could. So over that course of time, it's gone from 167 homes and lots to 132 homes and lots. And then when McKelvey Homes decided to proceed forward, they actually reduced it even further to 115 lots. So this is the least dense proposal on the 50-acre site since we started discussing it 10 years ago. So for trivia purposes, when the city incorporated this particular site, the 50 acres was authorized for a 500,000 square foot indoor mall, 9 outlots, and an apartment complex of over 100 units. It was to mirror Chesterfield Mall, and that's why you often hear about Pond Grover Loop Road. So the intersection of Route 109, Route 100, and then a loop road, much like Chesterfield Parkway, would encircle the mall. Right after the incorporation, Barra Land Development had the property under contract and had a subcontract with Deerbergs. And Deerbergs was going to build their store at this location. Ultimately, as you know, they moved to the east. Thereafter, in 2007 and 2008, Target had the project under contract via Desco Group. And that Target development actually got approval from the city. It didn't proceed forward because they asked for public financing, specifically either a community improvement district or a transportation development district or both. Kind of don't remember exactly. Then in 2015, we started the residential component, and that's where we end up tonight. Just a couple of things. As the Architectural Review Board, you all are the experts on materials, design, colors, etc. But in the ordinance approved by City Council for this particular property, there are a number of items relating to architecture, and I just want to kind of describe those for you so you kind of know in part why McKelvey Homes is bringing some of the things to the table tonight. First, as with all residential developments in town center, we do not accommodate vinyl siding here. It has to be either some type of wood, stone, brick, or fiber cement siding with backer board. So no vinyl siding. Corner lots, when a lot has double frontage, that both portions, both elevations of the dwelling that face to the street have to be treated like the fronts. And so again, the front has usually the porch, but any of the components, the architectural components like shutters, windows, with mullions or dividers, that has to be replicated on that side. In terms of the units themselves, they all have to have front porches. The depth has to be a minimum of 5.5 feet. And there has to be a step or at least two from sidewalk grade to the porch. Again, elevating it just a bit. Garage doors have to be carriage types with windows. The shingles have to be architectural types and with a minimum 30-year guarantee. Inside the home, there has to be a 9-foot interior ceiling height. Again, kind of creating a little bit of a difference than the standard 8-foot height that you see on many of the other builders' homes elsewhere in the metropolitan area. So the intent, again, of City Council is to basically lay a solid foundation so that when the Architectural Review Board sees the actual renderings, plans, and materials, they know why and how it all got here. With that, I'll conclude and just ask if there's any questions on the history of the site. It is an interesting one. If it could talk, it would tell some real good stories, I imagine. And any of the things that City Council included in the site-specific ordinance. And the last thing I'll say is, due to federal regulations relating to bat habitat, there actually has been some clearing on the site prior to April 1st. So development is underway, at least at this early stage. Thank you.
Overall ground elevation, that's low down, isn't it? How are we in terms of water flow and issues of those kinds?
Well, that's a very good question, Mr. Chair, because this is kind of near the headwaters of Bottom Creek. And the immediate property to the south or downstream is Community Park. And so when our City Council was going through all of the different discussions, one of the things that came quite clear is we really need to address stormwater management. MSD signed off on it already. And their regulations are pretty darn good these days because of the Phase 2 Clean Water Act requirements. So channel protection, flood mitigation, and water quality. We're still in a bit of a discussion. They're what they call stack basins, and you see them over at the villages of Brightleaf. People hate them over there because they're usually deeper because you're stacking all three components of management in a single basin. So they're deeper, slide slopes are steep. You usually have some kind of rock material in there basically to create the forebay from the detention. The plants, you really have to maintain them to foster the plants that like having wet feet, so to speak. But we have a grouping of them, and if you could go to that site plan, I appreciate it very much. There's a grouping of them, and one of the things we asked them to do was, for the most part, minimize the number of basins if at all possible, which I think in a roundabout way ended up making them even a little bit deeper than what we typically see. Because we wanted less, they have to carry more, so to speak, of the water. That's all right. They have it in front of them. But we think we're in good shape with stormwater. Now, as soon as I say that, we'll get another set of rains like we had last weekend, and all of that just goes out the window.
And do they have, I know Clark Creek's flooding because I live there. Do they have flooding issues with Bottom Creek? You said that's on Bottom Creek, right? Do they have flooding issues there?
Bottom Creek is not as bad as Cox Creek, Fox Creek, and Wild Horse Creek, but as you get further down toward Pond Road, Riga Road, and some of those areas around Babbler State Park, yes, we do have some flooding there. We've not yet had water up the bank in Community Park, and all in all, we are getting some erosion there, but again, I don't know if I can attribute it to a single development or group of developments. It's just these storms. There's no such, the 100-year storm now seems to happen every 5 or 10 years, and even more frequent in some instances. So, but yes, Bottom Creek actually, we're going to be doing our first stormwater management master plan, hopefully starting sometime in late summer, early fall. We have 9 watersheds. In terms of stress, it's always Cox Creek that has the greatest amount of development. But quite frankly, we're seeing problems on Wild Horse Creek with the roads flooding out there. Friday night, there was a water rescue by Monarch Fire Protection District. And then Fox Creek, we've had people that have lived along Fox Creek for decades saying, we're getting water now. We've got a couple of the properties where it actually, at August of 2019 rain, that flooded Route 109, had the car floating down it with the young lady in it. They had water, several of them have water in their basements and never had that. So, but yeah, Bottom's one of our more friendly creeks right now and watershed.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the questions.
Sam?
I have a question. I don't know. Can we go to the first slide that Mr. Vunich showed? I don't see the roundabout on 109 that's smack dab in the middle here. That roundabout is terrible. Oh, okay, that's the Main Street future extension. That's pretty close to where it is.
Exactly.
That roundabout's terrible, and it's gonna take a lot of pressure from homeowners, 115 homes over in here. There's not too many options. They can't go up to State Road 100, although there is some little lane there, I guess, but that's near the gas station.
Yeah, this is the BP Amico by your subdivision, Phillips 66. here.
Right.
Roundabout, and then traffic.
I just think that that roundabout's gonna get a lot of major use, and that is not the greatest roundabout in the world to this day.
Yep.
And that was my only concern to bring up. I guess you can also get out onto Manchester Road and head out, but that roundabout's gonna take a lot of heat, I would think.
Well, I know what you mean, because if you drive by that particular roundabout, you can see that the guardrail's always been, it's getting nicked and hit. So it just, the configuration we're looking at, obviously, we've got to make it work for Main Street, because we're going to extend Main Street, as you know, from the site plan down to basically here. This is the neck that's the community college has. And this gray area, this was a 50-foot wide dedication the community college gave to the city because we are anticipating a roundabout here. At this stage, given how development works, it takes years to, or maybe not years, I'm sure McKelvey Homes would like to say it takes months for us to fill this out and build it. But we don't need the roundabout right now. So it's just going to be a one-way stop here, and then people can work their way out. Yeah, your point's well taken. And as you know, Mr. Parsons, too, once you get to the edge of the roundabout, it drops off almost like a cliff and then comes back up.
Yeah, it's like candid. Then for some reason, cars coming up from the south and stuff, they have a problem when they get in that roundabout, and with that, other people trying to do what they want to do and stuff. You almost end up I've had several near collisions because I try to go to Main Street, and
Right.
they just don't realize that, people want to do that. So
I'll pass it on to Mr. Brown, our Director of Public Works, and obviously Mr. Bartlesmile representing McKelvey Homes, who knows what your concerns are. Do our best.
thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm going to hand the baton off to Ms. Keith. Thank you. Appreciate the question.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of what you're reviewing tonight, some elements of the package before you, and then I'm going to very swiftly turn it over to Mr. Bartles. So tonight, this is a preliminary review, and we're looking at the architectural elevations, the 3D renderings and floor plans for 5 designer series houses that are going to take up about 63 lots out of this 150 subdivision. So we're not actually looking at all of the house series this evening. The homes that you're looking at this evening have greater widths. They're on lots with greater widths. The homes themselves are approximately 68 feet wide, and they have 3-car garages. So you're looking at the wider lots this evening. In your packet, we did include, or Mr. Bartlesmire included, a site plan of the reserve development. and different components of the site plan, including the park plan and public space plan. Also the renderings for the reserve monument signs that will label the subdivision from either end of it. And then, as discussed, variations of homes for 5 designer series. Included in your packet this evening is just the front elevation renderings for each of these homes. The department has requested that a full 360 view of at least one variation of a home per series be presented to you at the next meeting. The department has provided some preliminary comments to the applicant, but we will be providing more detailed comments after this meeting based on this discussion. So no action is requested of you. And unfortunately, our captions are blocking which the label of the series, but I'm sure Mr. Bartlesmeyer can give you the rundown when he comes up to present. But I just wanted to give you a quick run through of all the variations that are included in your packet. So. There are many. That brings me to the end of my introduction. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Alex Bartlesmeyer, Senior Architectural Designer.
Just before you do, just a question here, as I'm looking at the pictures and I'm looking at this diagram, whatever. These look good with all the trees behind, but to what extent are a lot of those trees gonna be there? If we've got this many homes and those lots are, talk to us a little bit about that ground soil, green, trees and so, I mean, that looks good with the trees behind it, but are there gonna be trees around if your homes that seem to be, in some cases, pretty close together?
Mr. Chair, what I will tell you is that if you have a lot that's along the perimeter, you'll have some trees behind your property that are being preserved either as part of the outlot, which is for commercial purposes, it may someday be developed. There's another portion of common ground along Route 109 on the southernmost end of the property, and then along the western boundary and Bound Creek. As this went through Planning and Zoning Commission, Mayor Boland at the time was adamant that many of the trees be saved around the perimeter of the site, so as we wouldn't experience the pushback we got at Villages at Brightleaf. And so that's been factored in. Along Bottom Creek is the most generous area of tree preservation, obviously because of our concerns about stability. But on the interior of the site, trees that you'll see are the trees that get planted.
Are the trees that what?
They'll be planted.
To be planted?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question. Any of these homes designated to be rentals? Rental properties?
We do not. We don't have rental properties. And then after that, it's whatever Wildwood's requirements are for rental properties. But we will not be having any rental properties.
Thanks.
Okay, and I'm sorry, to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, and I actually think about it, we will have an HOA. I'm pretty sure it is a requirement in our HOA not allow rental properties. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that is part of our typical HOA agreements, is not allowing rental properties within the communities. Oh, sorry.
At this time, take the presenter seat.
I'll give a little breakdown, a little bit of the houses. Yes, they're presented right now in front of you is 5 houses. In the end, there will be a total of like 16 houses. I think my math's right. No, 15 houses. I think it's 8, 7, so 15. This is gonna break down. We have 2 different plan series that we're offering. The designer series, which are presented, 5 of the houses that are presented tonight are all in the designer series. So it's 5 of the 7 in the designer series. Would love to have all 7, but 2 of them just weren't ready for presentation yet. These are our larger homes. If you go to this nice little color breakdown, those houses are on lots C and D, which is the white and yellow lots. Those are primarily along Main Street, if you notice. So those are-
I can easily tell the yellow, but other than everything else, it's pink, blue, or everything is white, so I'm not sure what the white lots are.
it's, well, I mean, like, it's basically the other lots that are,
All those other lots are.
all the other
Oh, okay,
lots that are
okay.
white, those
Okay,
are the white lots.
All right, I
So, yeah.
understand now.
Yeah. So, yeah, so those all lots will be our designer series houses. The other 2 lot sizes, lots A and B will be our Liberty series. The difference between those lots, our Liberty series do have our narrower houses. They start with our two-car Liberty series houses, which are roughly 40 feet wide. And then there's the option for a 3rd-car Liberty series, which goes up to 50-foot wide. In that series, we have 8 total houses. 5 will be available for the 2-car lots, and all 8 are available for the 3-car lots. That works because 5 of them were designed for 2-car lots and then add on a 3rd car, where the other 3 in that set were designed for 3-car lots, so. So that's a quick breakdown of that. As we said, we'll continue this presentation. I think next time we come, we'll probably be reviewing some of the Liberty Series plans. Some of them are really close to being ready, but we're focusing on the designer series right now. Because this community is gonna be done in phases. Phase 1 will basically be coming off the roundabout and it's mostly Main Street and comes basically Main Street here, actually. So it's gonna Main Street, all these lots along the way. This cul-de-sac will be included, and then it comes basically right here, and I think we're basically stopping there. So it's just Main Street here and here. Of that, majority of them are designer series, which is what we're presenting tonight, and I think it's these 7, 8 lots are Liberty Series. So that's why we're trying to get the designer series through first, get comments on those, get those as ready as quick as possible. But hopefully we have everything approved by the time we start breaking ground, selling, all that, so, but we just want to make priority of that, so. Of what is presented to you guys, said there are 5 lots, or houses presented. The breakdown is 2 of them are ranch plans. And the other 3 are what we call 1.5 stories. They're 2 stories, but with the master on the first floor. So, the sizes range. I know. So I don't think it's on here, but, not much else. Material wise, we have, in the packet, we do have a breakdown of the materials we're offering. We do have offered exclusively architectural shingles, roofing. Our siding material is hardy board. Meet the city's requirements. And then masonry we offer, we only do full bed depth, stone or brick. Multiple different color samples up there, not, so. Yes, go ahead.
Has the fire people, have they given an approval to this or looked at it or given any inputs to it about the entire neighborhood? I know it starts out, it's not built all at one time, but do they have any kind of input to what we're trying to do here?
Mr. Parsons, yes. Just a little bit more trivia, Metro West Fire Protection District has a new fire marshal, Joe Hafner. Rod Cook retired after many, many years. But yes, we required, Stockton Associates is doing the civil work. So we required them to submit the improvement plans to the fire marshal. And just yesterday, I got an email from Mr. Hafner to Stockton Associates saying that the board approved the hydrant ordinance, which is almost the last step. And the only thing that's out there right now, and it's a comment that came from the Department of Public Works, Department of Planning, after he met with the fire marshal. As you know, street width is critical for parking. And so the original design and the improvement plans had the streets at 26 foot wide, which means that they're restricted parking on both sides. If you do 26.1 feet, you can park on one side, the non-hydrant side. So we've asked them to basically increase the street width to 26.1. That was really the only outstanding comment that we had from the discussion. I will note too that the fire marshal asked that we remove, there's a sheet that shows some of these speed humps. They asked that we remove several of them along Main Street, which is the primary arterial, so to speak, and we did that. So we're very, very close.
So either the city or the HOA will designate one side of the street that's for parking and the other side no parking.
Usually it's the non-hydrant side because we don't want to park next to the hydrant. So I don't have the resolution from the board with me, but whatever side they ended up putting the hydrants, that's the side we'll post for no parking. Sorry, Mr. Barnes.
No,
I just had all that stuff today.
no, that's good. That's actually information I was not aware of yet, so.
Yeah, out of curiosity, so if it's 26.1 to get parking on one side, what do you need for a width if you wanted parking on both sides?
I think it's almost 33 or 35 feet,
Okay, just curious.
which is a whopper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you probably, I'm gonna make this meeting too long, but just real quickly, you know, there's that push and pull between the fire marshal and us. Wider streets improve response time and ensure that there's a passable lane at all times. Wider streets increase speeds.
Yeah.
And they make them, in our opinion, a little more unsafe. So when we met, we were kind of going back and forth and back. So make a long story short, it'll be 26.1.
Well, trying to speed through some of those curvy roads could be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Roundabout.
Got the roundabout. But and the fact that they're all cul-de-sacs, which is atypical for our town center. You know, people usually, when they get in a cul-de-sac, aren't going to rate of speed because there's nowhere to go.
So effectively, we're kind of moving away from new urbanism in this area.
I would say that's a very accurate depiction west of Route 109.
Okay.
And
And I can understand it, the grades, the density that they're trying to get. Deforestation really needs to happen if you're gonna make the topography work for drainage. Hate seeing all the garage facing portions of the development, but unless you're gonna develop some sort of an alley solution, you're never gonna get rid of them.
the alley solution just hasn't been well received.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we have it in portions of Canterbury, and I know the townhome owners struggle with it. Windsor Crest wants us, the city, to accept the alleys. We've accepted alleys in the meadows Manors at the Meadows of Cherry Hills, Main Street Crossing, and we're Brightly. So, you know, they were intended to be private. Now taxpayers are gonna pay to maintain them. So it's part, I think the compromise we're trying to always reach is not to have the garage doors the first thing you see when you come down the street. Meaning that the porch or a portion of the home is in front of the garage doors. Typically, we use a distance anywhere from about 6 to 15 feet. But it's just, St. Louis market, I'm finding, has a certain type of house people like. If you get too far away from that, that may not necessarily be in the best interest of everybody.
Other than the roads that might get you to Deerbergs, for example, or whatever. They're either bike routes or pathways or what, yeah, sidewalk, what's the other vehicle or mechanism for maybe getting out of that community to adjacent areas and that might involve something other than cars?
Yeah, there are sidewalks and I'm looking for, I thought there was included, I may not have included it.
Bartles Meyer, I can help her if you like.
Yeah, you can.
I'm sorry, I've been taking this home for a month straight, so.
You know where it's all at, right?
Main Street. All the way through the development ends here.
So it's a hiker, biker type route that follows and it's separate from the road itself, it's
Yes,
adjacent, okay,
very much so. And then all of the cul-de-sac streets have sidewalks.
okay.
And then here, we actually require McKelvey Homes to build the trail connection up to the Phillips 66. There's already a trail that goes in front of Phillips 66 to the tunnel. So people will be able to access under the tunnel, the rest of the trail system toward town center, Deerbergs specifically. And then you'll be able to access the pedestrian bridge if they want to go on the north side, and then anywhere north up by Lafayette High School. We are going to require a sidewalk here. It doesn't connect anything. Probably during COVID, we had a grant from the federal government to build a trail, multiple use trail from Route 109 and Manchester Road up to basically Living Word Church. With COVID, everybody was concerned about all the funds, how much will we have? We have to match some of that. So that's not in the works right now. So we'll have a gap between this portion of the site and Route 109 in terms of pedestrian facility. Inside the development and to the east and north of the development is connected.
Can I ask who owns the parcel to the southeast of this 115 acres or 50 acres?
In here? Yeah. This is a 10+ acre site. It was owned by the Tishannons. Mr. Tishannon passed away a couple of years ago. His wife now is there, and their daughter lives here in Wildwood as well. We have a proposal that went to the Development and Zoning Review Committee on that 10 acres for some senior housing. It's very, very early in the development stages. Don't know what's going to happen. Then there's Pond School, Old Pond School, which is owned by the city. And then this tract right on the corner is owned by one of the Deerbergs. I had been told it was the Deerberg that owns the bank. I looked at putting a bank there a long time ago, but it never came to fruition. That corner parcel has Bottom Creek. It goes right through the center. It's kind of delayed its development, I think.
Does Pond School have some recreational area in addition to the school? In other words, is that from a recreational standpoint useful for the residents in that area?
Yeah, so we go back to that one that showed the parcels. I'm sorry. Thank you for helping me, Ms. Keith. I do appreciate it. I can show you real quickly once we get. Sorry.
Hold on.
So Pond School, the old Pond School is in that section? Or
Yes,
is it
in
to the
that
west.
span of properties there. And then-
Somehow I thought it was. The parcel was to the east of.
Well, that's actually shown on the trails.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the Tishannon property. And they own 1, 2, 3, 4 lots. That forms that 10+ acres. This is Old Pond School, just an acre, and then this is that Jim Deerberg property, as I recall. So kind of from here, it's this is the vacant property on the corner, southwest corner of Route 109 of Manchester Road. This is Quest Church. This is the Church of Latter-day Saints. The neck that sears into community college and then New Pond School here.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll have the access almost directly across the street from the school as well.
That's good.
Actually, if you wanna go down one slide. That was the one I was thinking of. The purple there is walking paths,
Oh, okay.
so that's showing the walking paths through there,
And then
which is exactly as Joe described it. The one thing is there's a path through the center of the park as well, or center of the community as well.
And asphalt pavement or like cement blocks? I mean, cement sidewalk type. Asphalts are usually better to ride a bike on, I guess is what I'm getting at.
we prefer asphalt.
Yeah.
Because as you know, when you do concrete replacement like slabs and that and sidewalks, they've got to sit for a week and you have to block off, and whereas asphalt, you can mill it down, put new asphalt on it, you can use it the same day almost.
So those will be asphalt?
I mean, I can find the cross section now, for sure.
How much are there any HOA facilities, a pool, clubhouse, any of that kind of stuff?
There is a playground,
Big gray area?
this is right here, right here. The playground.
Not a pool, it's a play area, just a.
Yeah, just a playground.
It seems to be somewhere of a playground.
No, there is no pool or any facility like that. Yeah. There's also a few gazebos. But one will be up there. The other one. Trying to remember where that's located. I've got that right here. Another gazebo at the end of this cul-de-sac here. Nope, sorry. That's sitting space, sorry. Gazebo here at the beginning, front of the community, and then one here at this path connection point.
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
one of the comments we made is provide a cross section of the multiple use trail. So I don't have that information, but my recollection was we talked about asphalt. That's our preference. Although I will tell you, Great Rivers Greenway now builds all their trails in concrete.
Interesting.
And I haven't seen a hand up or whatever, but I just give this man an opportunity if there's anything, comments or, and I don't know if you can, I guess you can probably see the map, but you probably can't see when he's highlighting things. So I don't know if you have questions or comments. I just wanted to give you a moment if you had either questions or comments as we're looking at stuff. Okay. Other questions or comments from anybody?
Curious as to the price range.
Not settled just yet. I know we're in the process of, especially now with us knowing some relatively that it's going to be for sale later this year. We have been collecting the pricing for it.
You talking about 3,000 square foot houses?
It fluctuates. The Liberty Series, with the smaller lots, I think the smallest one in the Liberty Series actually is, I want to say 1,800 square feet. But you can get all the way up to some of the larger on the Designer Series can get up to, I want to say 3,600 square feet.
So you're talking nearly $850,000, $900,000 house?
Oh, I mean, like, yeah, for the Designer Series based off finishes, I mean, like, yes, we're looking at that price, if not higher. The Liberty Series, yeah, you're probably looking the lowest. I mean, don't hold me to it, but in the 600s, maybe 700s.
Yeah.
Um,
You're looking at $250 to $300 a square foot.
Yeah, roughly. We usually don't break it out like that because the finishes that are selected can fluctuate that so quickly. So I know some people always come to us and ask what our square footage costs are. And I'm like, what are your selections? And I'll tell you what your square footage cost is. So, but yeah, you're probably looking somewhere around that range, so. Um, As for the houses, as I said, we did, do a hardy board throughout on all sides. We did continue, it wasn't a requirement by the city, but we decided we were gonna do it. We're trimming out every window on all four sides and also extending grill patterns to all four sides. It's not a usual standard for us, but, with the city requirements, we thought it would be, a good feature, especially because it was going to be a requirement on corner lots. So we believe it would look better for it to be universal across the community.
Considering that their prime entries and their two prime entries is off the roundabout. How do you keep random traffic out?
Probably won't. Some people may want to bypass the traffic signal and go through Main Street to get to Manchester Road. Let's say you're bringing your child on school or something. So that's why Main Street is actually 30 feet in width. So it's an oversized road by town center standards. It has the sidewalks, pedestrian facilities, will have all the street lighting, safety features as well. But Mr. Ritter, we haven't, it's almost impossible to keep. And we have it in Community Park. People, they want to avoid Route 100, Route 109, they'll go through the park to get westbound on State Route 100. Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of thoughts. I think the placement of the openings generally are centered well over the doors, the garage doors, et cetera. It's just, generally speaking, they followed good rules of architecture. I defer to Mr. Ritter if he has a different opinion.
I like the houses. I wish there was more character variation than simply material variation. But that's what's being built today. Happy to see that you didn't show us any white farmhouse style. That has grown old quickly.
I just saw an article about that. Big white houses with black trim.
Yeah. It's still out there. It may not be as predominant as it was a few years ago, but there's still the occasional person.
Yeah, anything else, anybody? No action on our part, as I understand it. It's just to kind of preliminary, take a look and see observations. I mean, we've shared some observations that you've kind of addressed.
That's correct. If there are anything that should be included in the next round of review, now is your opportunity to advocate for such. If you have any particular comments that you would like to pass on so that we can get them
Is there
included in the
any
next.
restriction in the city's requirements for, I know we have 5 plans and 65 lots at this point, for plan A to be X far away from the next plan A?
Yes, we have in the ordinance an anti-monotony clause. So basically it deals with intersections and other locations. They can't have the same unit as corners and then those locations. So
I couldn't make out what you said. You couldn't have what?
an anti-monotony
Oh,
requirement. In the ordinance, it speaks to the intersections of the streets, primarily Main Street, so that there's a variety of housing types, and so you don't get a stretch of the same type of house in one location.
I was gonna say, and no disrespect to planners, but the repetition of some of the houses that are seen on the other side of 109 is every planner's dream and every architect's nightmare.
Understood. And it's just, we did our best, I would tell you, on Villages of Brightleaf. Mr. Newberry, who's our senior planner, he had the plan out, had different colors for each of the types. And the color coding told us if we were getting too many in a row. And
I wasn't really referring to Brightleaf, I was referring to the one on the other side of 109. It is more homogeneous, let's call it.
We try to avoid it as well. Um, we really do not allow someone to build the same elevation next to the other elevation, and not like the exact same elevation. If a client insists on it, we will make them change materials. Definitely pick completely different colors, but I know Wildwood has it actually written in. I'm just talking in general, when we're talking to our other communities, we try to avoid it as well, because we don't want the repetitiveness either. So.
I know it's the whole area is low down, but I can't really on the road see. Is it all pretty level, or will it be pretty level, or will it be a little hilly, or
pretty hilly now.
pretty hilly?
We'll still have some character when it's all said and done.
Okay,
Just, there's just only so much they can do within the parameters of protecting.
yeah, and I just from the road, I couldn't tell, other than knowing I can see a wooded area there, and
Yeah, the landscape plan that was attached actually does include topography lines on there. There is quite a bit of topography throughout. Actually, quite a number of these houses will be walkouts to account for that, so.
And if you, Mr. Bartlesmeyer, if you'd like to see kind of what it all looks like together on Mackenzie Road, is that Shrewsbury unincorporated?
No, that is technically Darden Prairie.
Well, I was talking about Mackenzie Point.
Oh, sorry.
They have a development down there. I drove through it. You can see a lot of, I think, some of the model, I recognize some of the models from here, there,
Mhm.
and then Darden Prairie.
Darden Prairie, our Inverness community, would be a great one because it was designed in the same development style with the all the curves and the trails throughout and the setback houses. That one's an interesting community, and we're actually almost complete with that. We're in phase 3 now of the final phase of that community, and phase 3 for us is probably 75% done, so that would be a good one if you want to see what the final product of this could look like. You're gonna want to go through. Now, I'll say it was farmland before, so there's not a lot of existing trees. But you can definitely get the feel of the curving lots, the fluctuation in the house setbacks. And then the cutting through trails throughout the property, so. It actually turned out to be a great community. That one does have, it was a mixture, it had 2 other builders within it, but we did majority of the building throughout, so.
Thank you.
so when you take out the amount of land needed for public amenity and roads, you're probably at what, roughly a third of an acre for each of the houses?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm just thinking 115 lots on 50 acres would suggest a third to almost a half. But I'm putting, pull out roads and
Yeah,
public
probably a
amenities.
lot less than that.
I mean, yeah, I'm just ballparking, it might be a third of an acre or so.
Probably for the bigger lots, you're probably right. Yeah, we get down to the Liberty Series 2 car lots on Lot A's, they're probably smaller than that.
Anything else, anybody? Heard that we have any comments or suggestions? We made observations, but they seem to be things that are already in the works, to the best of my recollection of the comments that have been made. And I'll defer if anyone does have anything that we should be. taking
Like I said,
into
we'll,
account.
we'll be before you guys again with more additional houses, so.
When do you think you're back? How long do we have to keep? How do we, you probably give us a whole new set of stuff anyway, but
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, these will need to be presented again for final comments. We'll be back probably for another preliminary round on some additional houses. Probably shortly, maybe next month. I have to look up when our deadline is for submittal, so.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I don't think you brought us near enough material over there. I think we need more samples next
All right,
time.
I'll bring more of the stone next time. Well, house examples.
yeah, some model houses here. You want to see the models. Line them up here.
It's been a few years since I made some models, but I can, might be a little rusty, but I'll get back at it, so.
All on that Google, right?
Yeah.
Well, now with 3D printing, you know.
I know, I was just about to say, nowadays I just
3D printing,
did
you
3D printer, so.
easy peasy, right? All right, do we have anything else for them for the agenda? If not, our next meeting date, if needed, will be May 8th.
We will absolutely be.
I was
meeting.
gonna say, I gather it did sound like we may need it. And any other closing remarks before adjournment? If not, a motion will be in order to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Stan's moved,
I'll make the
Mr. Gonna
second.
seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, we are adjourned.
Thank you
Very
so
much.
much, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend too.
Every day is Saturday.
That's true. That's what I hear.
Thanks.